Oh, you want me to mute myself? Yeah.
All right, we are, Megan, I think I can hear myself off of yours.
On this end, it's okay, Sarah. I don't hear any like feedback or anything.
Okay.
That weird noise.
All right, great. All right, so we are live on YouTube, and I will call us to order at 6:01 p.m. Thank you for joining us, everyone. We have public comment first up on the agenda, so if anyone wants to make public comment, that's better now. You can go ahead and raise your hand, and I will call on you. If you can please remember to state your full name and address for the record, that would be wonderful. You can turn it back on. Are you all plugged in all the way? All right. I don't have anybody raising their hand for public comment, so I will take us into our next order of business, which is the budget vote for FY22, and I will open it straight up and ask for a motion to approve the fiscal year 22 operating budget in the amount of $41,839,543.
So moved.
Megan moved.
Second.
Emily second. All right. I think there was a really great discussion and public hearing on this last week. So does anybody have anything further to say before I call for a vote? Sarah?
So for the first time, I think in history, I actually have prepared thoughts on a piece of paper. As you all know, I do much better off the cuff, but I know we're short on time tonight. So I wanted to make sure I got clear and concise. As a school committee member, I believe one of my most important duties is to advocate for a budget that meets the needs of our students and staff, and that sets our district up for educational and financial success. I cannot support this budget as I feel it relies on one-time revenues to fund reoccurring costs. I believe this to be a fundamental flaw in any budget plan. It is not sustainable and only sets us up for continued financial shortfalls and the ever-present reliance on free cash, which we all know is terrible financial management. Over $400,000 of reoccurring costs are being funded by one-time revenues in the proposed budget. That means we start out FY23 planning process already at a $400,000 deficit, since we use the level funded plus contractual obligations formula to determine our target number. Additionally, this budget does not fund 8 items that were identified by our administration as FY22 budget priorities, and does not even come close to funding the items we all know have been reduced from our budgets for the last several years to get us by. I do not feel this budget funds the promises made to our community when we sought approval for funding the new Brown Elementary School. We promised the end of transient staff. We all sat through a very moving speech by our past superintendent, Phil DeVoe, who explained in detail how transient staff causes a lack of parity and results in educational deficits. Dr. Satterfield spoke very eloquently of the challenges presented by managing staff shared by multiple buildings, and how whenever you need someone for an unanticipated incident, they are undoubtedly in the opposite building. We listened to these valued educators and agreed that we needed to sacrifice the benefits of neighborhood schools to provide the educational benefits that come with having all staff be 100% building based. Yet we are not funding this on day one of the new building. One of the biggest areas of pushback while marketing the new school was the constant chorus of lack of maintaining what we have. We were commended by our OPM and the MSBA for providing one of the best maintenance plans for the proposed new building that either party had ever seen, and achieved an unheard of 2 points of reimbursement money because this plan ensured we would be maintaining the inside and outside of the building on day one. The proposed budget eliminates the additional custodian that our director of facilities spoke very astutely to us all about needing to ensure we don't revisit the mistakes of the past. And now we may be unable to maintain all the modern day elements of the Brown School. Mr. Bloodgood spoke of the need for a groundskeeper to maintain our new and existing buildings. We have funded an irrigation system at the new school that will need to be maintained properly, as well as advanced drainage systems. As we have heard from Dr. Benedetto, a dedicated bus was promised for the north end of town when the Brown School was proposed. No such bus is in this budget. But for me, the most troubling thing is the reduction in staff at the Brown School. We built the school to accommodate 5 classrooms at each grade level, and the proposed budget only provides funding for 4 classes at the K, first, and second grade levels. We will have empty classrooms on day one of a $54 million school. We have heard many times this year how despite the many hardships brought on by hybrid learning, that one of the few benefits was the ability of teachers to focus on small class sizes. We were told what a teacher can do with fewer students is amazing, and it benefits our children. Schools across the country are scrambling for extra space to allow for fewer students per room. We have been gifted the space, and if we budget for it, we can provide reduced class sizes for next year, which will undoubtedly help tremendously to close any gaps of learning loss created by the pandemic. I urge you all to advocate for keeping those teaching positions to set our students up for the greatest success and to help make up for learning loss created by COVID-19. I would strongly argue that this is the exact use that COVID relief funding was created for. I would argue that staffing classrooms that in any other year could be combined will provide for remediation of learning loss, as well as greater distancing for our student population that will be the last to receive vaccines. We have the opportunity to fund through COVID relief money these additional classrooms to respond to a situation that was created by the pandemic. We need to advocate for all of our needs to be met. We need to do everything in our power. And make no mistake, the budget is one of our biggest pieces of power to help our students. And I do not believe this budget does everything that it could to accomplish this. Thank you for listening.
Anyone else like to say anything?
Yeah,
Friday?
I do want to comment on that because I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page with what this budget does and does not cover. Because I think from a maintenance perspective, one of the things we talked about was 5 custodians. Right now, Glover has 4. This budget allows for 4.5 custodians without having to even add to staff. So, I actually think that we are in a good place, and Todd has been involved in those conversations to make sure that we can properly maintain our new school. In addition, in our conversations with the town, the groundskeeper has come up repeatedly, and we have an MOU with the Park and Rec, and I think we should continue to work collaboratively with other departments in town, and I think Park and Rec is one of those. So when we think about groundskeeping and maintaining the exterior of our buildings, we should be working collaboratively whenever possible. On the bus piece, John, correct me if I'm wrong, because I did follow up after that, after that meeting to make sure that we were covered for our buses. We can bus as as is required for the new Brown School. We've got 3 new buses in, I think, since I've been on the school committee. So my understanding is that we do have the buses and the capacity to bus as we need to for next year. Also, in just thinking about the reduction of staff at the new school, those reduction of staff, there's two reasons. One is because we are consolidating 3 schools. So we don't need 2 principals. We don't need however many, we don't need all those staff because of the consolidation. That's a natural process of merging multiple buildings. In terms of enrollment, where you are seeing reduction in the staffing at the classroom level, that is driven by enrollment. So right now, looking at John's slides, if you have 70 students and 4 teachers, 4 sections of that grade, we're still at 17.5 ratio, which is a very small classroom in comparison to other districts. That is a good ratio. So those reductions are all based on the data that we have available to us. And I think those are all the points that I wanted to make, just so that we're all on the same page. Like, there's no reductions in this budget. We've added, pretty much what, all of the top and high and medium priorities that came out of our budget discussions. So there's no cuts. They are all additions to our budget and to the services we provide our students.
Thank you, Megan. Anybody else, David?
Am I unmuted? I just want to start by, I want to thank, as we reach this point, Dr. Bucky, congratulations on, getting to this point with your first budget as superintendent, and also, Michelle Cresta, with her first full year, but second year at this. And I know you're out there, Michelle, and, outstanding work on providing the committee, the subcommittees, the town, everybody, the information that they need. It's just been incredibly transparent. It's been very informative. And I think our budgets are more aligned with the proper expense codes that they need to be in. The steps that we've taken to adjust with the circuit breaker monies and not having to, in the middle of the year, say, time out, we're not going to get the circuit breaker money that we thought we were going to get, and just fine tuning everything to do with this budget. So thanks for that, and also thanks to Jason Silva and the town for working collaboratively to get us to this point, along with the finance committee. So I think it's it's really exciting to be at this point. The one comment I'll just make, as chairman of the Brown School, and having been in this process for 5 years, I'll also say, we are going to open one of the flagship schools in the district, if not, on the North Shore in the state. It's going to be a school that has all of the essential needs for a modern day education. And when we went into the design with Gene Raymond, and we got to the point of educational design and functionality, extended classrooms, 25 touch screens that our new technology director came up with a recommendation. I think there's going to be something like 500 iPads that are going to be ordered, along with some Chromebooks for other students. We're going to have a very functional community space for youth groups to use when school's not in session. it will have the second largest athletic area next to the village school, that we're making a significant investment in for the town. So I am fully confident, having seen the process that's in place, and that, this school will provide a really excellent opportunity for, you said, Megan, when, we're finally going to bring together 3 schools, 3 neighborhoods. Third graders for the last couple of years have had to be at Village and Coffin and Bell and down at Eveleth. It's just going to be a real exciting opportunity to open that school. And I think that speaks well. And this budget also, let's not forget, Michelle accounted for some of the additional costs related to utilities. Just, it's a natural thing when you have modern ventilation systems, of which this school will be fully air conditioned as the only air conditioned school in the district. It will allow Eric, and I'm sure some of the summer programs that we have, it will provide a nice space for some of the summer educational programs that may come up, and that we normally have. So overall, I'm just really excited about it. So I think, I don't really want to say there's any deficiencies. And since we're talking about budgets, we're going to deliver this school on budget and on schedule, and probably it'll come in under budget. So I'm really excited about that. So I don't think we have anything that's deficient at all to do with the Brown School, and look forward to next year.
Sorry,
If I can
just add one other thing.
Mhm. Go ahead, Megan.
And I think constructive criticism is always important, because I do think that's how we get to a better end result. But I guess I'm a little frustrated at this point. When we're here to vote on the budget, we have been talking about this since, for me, all year, but in earnest, with priorities since the middle of February. So I guess I'm frustrated that we're here to vote. And, Sarah, I'm all for your feedback. I think that's great. But in the 11th hour, I don't think it's productive. And, Emily asked when we met last time, if this isn't the budget that you want, what's your suggestion? Because we're yet to hear that. And so I actually think this budget delivers. Can I finish what I'm saying? And then you can have your turn. So I think this budget delivers, almost all of the priorities, definitely the high and medium priorities that we'd expect. And that's part of the normal budgeting process. In any budget, not specific to Marblehead, you don't get every single thing that is on the list. So, and that is normal.
Yeah.
So again, I think this budget delivers what we set out to deliver. We've done a good job collaborating with the town in very tough times in a global pandemic. So if there are suggestions, it would have been great to hear that well before we come to vote.
So that's a great point, Megan. And it was a great point when Emily said it last week. This all was actually a very bulleted list of what I think we should have been doing. And I've touched on all of these, I think, extensively over the last few weeks. One thing I would plead with, Dr. Bucky and Nan and Michelle to look further into is, I really, really do think that it would be very justifiable under the COVID funding to fund those extra teaching positions, because those are teaching positions that we don't, if COVID didn't exist, we would not need those, because enrollment is down. We could have those, higher ratios than if we had those five classrooms. But I really think those 5 classrooms give us a unique opportunity during COVID for smaller classes. And we could, to create parity, they could even, offer to Glover's families, if you want to take an elective transfer over, this is an option. So we're offering that parity, and it would be up to them to choose. But because then in those small class sizes, in those foundational years, we could make tremendous strides in any type of mitigation in that learning loss, with the reading and writing and those very foundational blocks. And where that is not part of the number we would take from the town, because that would be through, the COVID money, because it's a situation created by COVID. It might be a really great opportunity to use some of those funds and to also provide, that mitigation of any potential learning loss. And at the same time, I have to assume it looks better for the MSBA for us to be using every classroom on day one than not. But that's just an aside. But I do really truly believe that this falls under mitigation practices for any learning loss, if we can look into that more.
So
I do just want to push back on that one a little bit, because it's not like, we can't have class sizes of 14 in one building and class sizes of 20 and 22 in other buildings. And it's not just
quite frankly,
elementary, it's across the whole district. So I think if we want, if as a district we decide we want class sizes of whatever the number is, 15, 20, whatever it is, then we should do that as part of our strategic plan, but make sure it's consistent across the board. We can't do it at one building. That's not equitable.
No, I agree. That's why I said make it available to all the elementary schools if there needs to be some movement. And it would go along the lines of bringing back our K1 and 2 students earlier, as you had suggested, Megan, that those younger learners have a different set of needs, as you spoke to in the beginning of the year. And I think it would speak to the very exact same need that you spoke to at the beginning of the year of treating those students different and bringing them back sooner.
Yes, but I just think that if that is what we want to do as a district, then that's a decision that we make as part of our strategic plan. And then we plan for it and fund for it as a district initiative, not as a one-off building initiative. I personally, and it's just my opinion, I don't think that's the best way to go about it, especially given that, even with the budget that we're presenting, we have low student to teacher ratios. They're in a very good spot. We are not overcrowding our schools. 70-4 is a good ratio. It's a great ratio. I mean, it's a really good spot to be in.
yeah, I don't understand the suggestion that we would ask one school student in an attempt to help them be in smaller classrooms, uproot themselves from their current building, and that would in any way then provide any kind of equity. You're given a rotten choice there, and it's completely unfair. I would be livid as a parent in the Glover system to have to make that kind of a choice, and then know that other students in other areas of the district had incredibly low ratios because we chose to fund some teachers that we knew when we were pitching the Brown School were not going to be needed. So
we pitched that school with 5 teachers per grade level. Never 4, always 5.
I don't want to call it a pitch. I mean, we worked extensively with the MSBA on enrollment. That was probably a 6-month process.
But I don't think the MSBA anticipated a global pandemic in which we had in Marblehead an
outpouring of 300 people leaving the district.
Of leaving to private schools, that because we're a district where many more families than a district such as Lynn can afford to take a private school option.
Yeah.
So I thank you, Megan, for writing that the record, and David as well, because I find it very slanted how we started this, and I'm very frustrated because we have been working on this for a very long time, and I'm wondering, Sarah, if you have sat down and talked with any of the administrators at all outside of a meeting to work through any of these suggestions that you've had, or if they've just kind of been tossed out there and then just let to hang, because everybody has been working on this very, very hard, and then coming to meetings and presenting the work that's been done. And I agree with Megan. I don't understand the idea of putting it out there of like, I can't support this budget tonight at the 11th hour. That's not the job that we were elected to do.
I don't think that anybody that's listened to anything has thought that I've supported this budget from day one. I have continually said that I worry it's not meeting our needs. And to say this is the first time I've made this announcement at the 11th hour is troublesome, that no one's heard anything I've said, that, I've even been quoted in the paper that I felt like we weren't meeting our needs. So this is my vote, and my vote is one way. And I respect that you guys feel in the opposition and will vote the other way. And that is 100% your duty and your right. But we are all given a vote, and I wanted to explain my vote, and that is that.
And I think that's fair. You're right. You can vote however you want. And you're right. You have expressed concerns. I guess my frustration is that you haven't offered any suggestions on how to get to where you want to. So that makes it hard to come to another solution. And I guess, yeah, that's my frustration in this. So if there are other suggestions, it would have been great to have heard those at any point during this process.
Emily, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
No, I think everything was covered, and I'm ready to move forward with the vote.
All right. We have a motion and it has been seconded. So I will take a roll call vote. Sarah Gold, yes. Megan Taylor,
Yes.
David Harris,
Yes.
Emily Barron,
Yes.
Sarah Fox.
No.
All right, that motion passes 4-1. Thank you, everyone. John, thank you. And Michelle, thank you. And all of our administrators and our principals out there
Right.
for all of the hard work that has gone into this. And, you know, we look forward to next year and doing it all over again. Maybe those are strong words.
Can't wait.
No, duly noted. I think I left the administrators out of that comment as well, but I think that's been a really good process that's moving forward in the district as well with the level of involvement.
Yeah,
So thank
yeah.
you for that.
I think there's a lot of really great things going on in the district right now, and that our processes as we move into the future and really growing our district are just going to kind of continue to pick up speed. So it's an exciting time. John, did you want to say something?
I thought of something. I just wanted to do a positive. So in this budget and the priorities, we did fund multiple things that teachers, principals have been asking for years. So that to me is a great thing. So I'm going to end it there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Matt Fox got his reading teacher, and I'm very excited for that. John, our in-person learning update.
Yes, there's lots to celebrate about in-person learning. And so I shared a presentation with the school committee, which is available on the school committee website right now. I'll share my screen so that the viewing audience at home can see. Can you see that right now? Okay. So each principal provided a slide as an update for what's happening. I'll just remind people that this was our plan to return the elementary school on March 15th for half days. We can check that off. They returned full in person this Monday, and at reopening this morning, they shared some insights as to how that's going. And I think it's safe to say it's going well, very, very well across the district. The K-6 returned to full days. Some lessons learned for sure, but even more exciting for me, your secondary education guy, is the return of 7 to 12 in their half days, and you see that checked off on the slide. I think that we're taking the right approach here with bringing them back half days, because we've already had a first positive COVID case, which I'll talk about in more detail in a minute. But having that occur in the half day structure, I think is helpful for learning how to navigate that. So I'm not going to take you through each of the slides. You can see that each of the principals has provided some narrative and then some great pictures of things happening outside, which we're really utilizing our rich resources of outdoor learning spaces. You see at the Glover School, you have some outdoor music classes happening. Village doing some outdoor learning with some special desks that I think that their PTO got for the students. Matt has given some information. Students back in science labs. The high school, they had a nice welcome back on Monday with the music teachers providing some music for them. Student services provided an update. They have been back more full-time in person, but Dr. Oxford talked about that transition today. Heidi provided an update for how our MetGo students, who have also been back full-time a little bit longer, how that has gone for them. And then I just wanted to make sure that information about what happens at the 7 to 12 level, because we are still 6-foot distance at pre-K to 6. And so 7 to 12, there is extensive work that has gone into preparing faculty and staff, and Deanna and Dan did a really nice job this morning at reopening, walking us through that process. The case that happened here, Dan actually has a binder of seating charts in his office that he maintains, and he and Deanna are able to contact those classrooms where there was a positive case per the new MOA. Classroom teachers are notified that there was a positive case in their classroom. They're able to do the contact tracing. We have standard notification letters that go out to faculty. My letter that I've been sending out all year goes out for the general knowledge to all 3,800 people that emails from Dr. Bucky go to. And then the classroom level notifications from Dan and Deanna to those families. And I just want to say that we continue to be all in this together. And so families doing the right thing. And, it was an emotional morning at reopening this morning. I think that Megan and Sarah would both agree that the last thing Deanna wants to do 2 days in is to call a family and say, there was a positive case in your child's class. You have been identified as a close contact. And, I think I would be remiss not to say that we continue to work with the Board of Health and follow CDC and Mass Department of Public Health guidelines for all of this work and share information. And so it's a very highly structured process, and it worked as we wanted it to this week. And so I want to clarify that, there are seating charts in each class. Mr. Bauer has an actual binder of them. And so what will happen when we go to fuller days? It won't be as easy as it is right now when we're in the half-day structure, but that's why I think our approach to this was the right way to ease into, because we've now had a positive case. We're able to deal with it, and also to communicate out to the public that we have this. So if there are questions from the committee, I'm happy to answer those. No.
Yeah. I think, speaking from the reopening piece this morning, it definitely was an emotional meeting. This is hard. These kids just went back, and many of them, or most of them, I would have to assume, are really excited to be there. And so now it's sort of some kids have to be home again. If I put myself in that position with my 8th grader, that would be an incredibly difficult call to get. And if I put myself in that position as in my school counselor role, that would be an incredibly hard call to make. So it's no one wins in these situations. But we knew this going in, and my hope is that we can see as a community just how important it is that we're keeping each other safe, and that when we're masking outside of school, it's for the betterment of everybody and the safety of everybody. And that, our goal is to get our community as well as possible, as we all sort of await vaccination for all age groups. So, these are, it's a tough thing. And it's going to, I think we will get to a point, as Deanna mentioned this morning, that we will, someone will test positive, and that news will come during the school day, and then kids will have to leave school. And that is going to be even more difficult. I've spent my days and nights reading about COVID at this point, and I've read stories about that and just how, kids dread that and everything. And so I do think, it's something, that we'll end up looking into as we proceed forward. But I just, again, want to put in another plug for everybody to really be masking inside school and outside school whenever they're, in groups.
you have teed me up nicely, not to cut
go
you
for
off,
it.
Megan, but pool testing
Yes.
is another part of mitigation strategy that is very helpful to us. And the more students that we can get participating in that, the better information that we have. And so if families have not signed up for pool testing, the state is now covering the cost of it through the end of the academic year. So I think the more students, particularly at 7 to 12, our middle school and high school students and staff to get engaged in that program, particularly because the state is going to cover the cost for that. I just think that it's a win-win. And so I know Deanna is looking to work with Matt and Dan for ways that do not interrupt the academic day, but that we can get more students and staff participating in that so that each week we have a representative sample that gives us the information that we need.
I think that's a good point, John, especially as we move into full days for those upper grades coming off of April vacation. I think that, if we could get more participation, that would definitely help us through that process. The one thing I just wanted to add on from Sarah from this morning is I think as a school committee, at least I had a feel for the amount of work that went into getting our kids in person, especially, 7 through 12 with the scheduling and the logistics that go on there. But this morning kind of brought it to a whole new level. Like Dan showed us the binder that he's got to, for those seating charts, but also in every classroom, tracking movement. So if you leave the classroom, where are you going? When do you return? So that if we can identify close contacts throughout their entire day. The seating, we talked about the seating charts, but I think just the amount of work that has gone into the planning and the extensive kind of process and procedure that they have in place. I was just constantly impressed by our principals and our staff, but this kind of brought it to a whole nother level. And there are going to be positive cases. It is just a fact of life of where we are now. But I think they've done a good job putting in mitigation and tracking procedures so that when something comes up, they can move quickly and efficiently, which is, I think, what they did in this case. So just big props out for everyone who's been working on this.
Absolutely. Sarah?
So what I thought was really great is how we could see that teachers were utilizing that outdoor space, not just for, the lunch and the recess, but for outdoor classrooms. And I think that, is great. I mean, I think it's great even in non-COVID times for the kids to get outside and to do things. But practices like that are going to go even further with the mitigation because the fresh air and all of that, and they can space out more. So it was really great to see at all different levels, teachers utilizing whatever outdoor space, whether it's tented or just open fields, to kind of get those classes outside.
Emily?
With the pool testing, that was my question on how that's being kind of advertised. Maybe send another email to kind of push it again, because it's been since, I don't think we've gotten another one since it first was implemented. So just to get more people to sign up, have people put in on every thing that they send out, like at the bottom, just pool test.
I mean, there was a suggestion at the reopening committee last week regarding a dunk tank at the vets and the high school, and getting a few key administrators up on there, and that you get one toss, each time you show up for your pool test. I mean, I thought that was a fantastic. Dr. Bucky asked me if it was an April Fool's prank when I relayed it to him, but I think I would love to see that.
You know who should be first in that dunk tank?
Dan?
Sarah Gold.
I would not garner. I would do it. I would not garner nearly the amount of interest, though. I don't think.
But we are, in all seriousness, talking about incentivizing it for, particularly at the high school level, where end of year important things are coming up, like prom and graduation. Not that you cannot go to those things if you're not pool tested, but to say the likelihood of those events being able to happen is increased, the better information that we have. And so we're working on making sure that people understand that this helps us to do more. And particularly with end of year field day and things like that, to say if you're participating in pool testing, it helps us.
Yeah, the more levels of mitigation and kind of like information that we have, the more robust our programs and our extracurriculars and all of the things that we can offer to our students can be. I think, you know, that's that. Anything else? All right, that's the end of our agenda. Sarah, are you trying to say something?
I was just saying we've had a hand up.
Okay, I don't have a second public comment since it was such a short meeting, so I would need a motion for that.
I'll motion for public comment.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor? Sarah Gold, yes. Can't raise your hand. Megan Taylor,
Yes.
David Harris. We got to turn your mic on.
Yes.
Emily Barron
Yes.
and Sarah Fox.
Yes.
All right, Erin Noonan, you've got your hand up.
Thank you all so much. I know you are pressed for time. I really just wanted to just acknowledge the village team and as a parent volunteer for lunch duty, and the Friday will be my third time, and you know it's definitely a transition and trying to start the kids from setting the rules, because these are upper elementary kids. And so I just wanted to acknowledge the fact that, like, on Monday there were things that could have been improved, and literally the next day, you know, Steve and Gallo and Principal Murphy had already made adjustments and tweaks, and they worked beautifully. And then, you know, even like literally day by day, they have been able to pivot and make adjustments to the way it is flowing and going. That is really impressive to me. I'm at this stage in the game, like I can't even imagine how many adaptations and schedule changes and logistics and things that they've had to respond to. And it's like day one, you know, it's like, okay, what do we need to do? And they just keep raising the bar. And so I just really just wanted to communicate that, because it's, to me, it stood out. And I, in talking to other parent volunteers that have been there this week, feel the same. And I know that we all want to return to a normal recess. And I do feel that they are on that track and they're doing it in a thoughtful way.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank you
thanks,
very
Erin.
much. Yeah,
Thank you
thanks,
all
Erin.
for the time.
Thank you. All right. I don't have any other hands raised, so I will adjourn us at 6:43 p.m. Thank you, everyone.